Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Stonehearth Desktop Tuesday. Alpha 17 is almost ready for Steam Stable, and that means another one of Allie's awesome splash screens. The goal of this splash screen was to create a Stonehearth take on Escher to celebrate Alpha 17's many building improvements, especially Yang and Tony's stair tool and Linda's defensive engineer. As anything inspired by Escher might indicate, the piece went through many surprise twists before finally coming to this rather awesome, I think, final place. Allie started with Escher's relativity, which reminds many people, as it turns out, of the end of the movie Labyrinth. In this original sketch, she sets up the general composition and the main focus beats, where all the action will be happening. The engineer, she thought, would be here in the middle, setting up fiendish traps for the goblins running around. In this refinement, Allie defines the engineer's illustrative look and introduces Cthulhu as a joke that ends up staying. She also does a bit of exploration on how Stonehearth Escher should look. She was concerned that with tons of stone and straight lines it would feel too heavy, like a straitjacket, so she borrowed some inspiration from Legend of Mana and Bravely Default, who both have very organic, wiggly stone staircases. She also took care to avoid straight ups and downs, opting instead for lots of diagonal shapes in the stairs. Next, she lightboxed the sketch out into the real world, redrawing it with pencils on Bristol board. The Cintiq, she says, still can't quite get her the same level of detail as pencils. After scanning it back, she did some color composition and was just about ready to start coloring it for real when we did a Desktop Tuesday about the engineer and heard tons of feedback from all of you about the balance and, more relevant to this painting, the look of the turnip turrets. To avoid cementing this as the final design for the engineer, Allie then erased the engineer and their tools from the sketch and used the clone stamp tool to get the paper texture back in, and then redrew all those areas with new points of interest. The engineer is still there in the middle, but goblins have made off with their goggles and another goblin's after her wrench. By the time we get to the final line art, you can see Allie's storytelling style emerge. Much like the Alpha 16 splash screen, this painting has a ton of tiny stories in it. Goblins are still making mischief, in this case stealing a worker's hammer, getting spied on by Cthulhu, stealing a knight's helmet, stealing the shepherd's crook, and drawing the attention of some very confused sheep. And here it is, the final piece, which should be in your hands along with Alpha 17 Stable very soon. So while Allie was working on this splash screen, what, you might ask, was the rest of the team doing? Well, making some honestly incredible updates to building, as it turns out. I don't have time to go into the details this week, but we are committed to getting all of your crazy shaped buildings built, and with no scaffolding left over either. Last week, Chris made some key improvements to a building's scaffolding usage and buildableness, and the whole team helped him test stuff, and we pushed those changes to Steam Unstable last week. There's still many issues blocking buildings, such as when furniture gets in the way of scaffolding, but this was a huge step forward for all of us, and I hope, as usual, that you help us test it out. Post any issues you have, and especially your problematic templates, on our forum at discourse.stonehearth.net. That's it. See you next week!